This was a story, as you saw in my bio, I was in the armed forces for about 11 years, came back into the corporate world, and then after 26/11 happened, I was called back into the government to raise an organization called the National Intelligence Grid. It was called the NAT Grid. And the job of this organization was basically to fuse data from literally thousands of different data sources and put them together in one single place. It's kind of equivalent to the US NCTC or the GCHQ of UK. And those of you who have had some experience of working with the government know that it's like pushing a string. It's not like pulling a string. To get a consensus to go and take a leak, you need a committee to sit down and decide whether we should go or not go. Abhi to gaye the thodi der pehle. All those things, you know, it's a big challenge. Now, in an 18-month project, the first step that has to be done is to build what is called a DPR. A DPR is a detailed project report. Now, the process for that is you usually send out an RFP. Anyone who's worked with the government here, or at least tried to? Yeah, there you know. So you have to send out an RFP, then the RFP will be responded to by about 16 people, then you have to weed them out, go through, I mean, it's a full beauty pageant, and you do this, that, and finally you will come down to the, so the whole process takes anywhere between 9 months to 12 months to just get the vendor on board. And in an 18-month project, if you're going to take 12 months to get the consultant to come on board, then pretty much 90% of the project time is gone in just deciding who to work with. When I began that project, I was given one office, one room office, one driver, and one PS, and one sheet of paper with a single line brief that you have to create the National Intelligence Grid. Your benchmark is the United States NCTC. Now let me put that in context in terms of a mission statement. If you take the US, after 9/11, they spent anywhere between $13 to $18 billion, depending on which number you believe. They have 1/6 of our population. The entire population, all records, they're all kept in English, one language. Every person is tagged with a social security number. A child, when he is born, the first injection that he gets is based on a social security number. They have a completely plastic economy. So if you spend a couple of $100 in cash in the US, you will be remembered. And they have one problem, the Al-Qaeda. They have two boundaries which are benign countries and two boundaries which are the sea. Now let's take that problem and contextualize it to the Indian context. We have 6 times their population. We think, we are not really sure, we are still counting. We have 29 states and union territories, each one of whom operates in a completely different language. Not just a completely different language, but different processes. So the first information report, the FIR, which is filed in Punjab, doesn't go back to the British, it goes back to the Maharaja of Patiala. The FIR that is filed in Tamil Nadu goes back to the Maharaja of Travancore. Now in that diversity, we don't have one problem, we have various flavors of terrorism. We have Naxals, we have fundamentalists, we have secessionists, we have Northeast terrorism, we have all sorts of problems. And our black economy is supposed to be, I mean, depending on which number you believe, about twice or thrice of our legitimate economy. And we don't have $18 billion to spend, and we have 18 months to do this task, which the US took somewhere around 7 to 8 years to accomplish. Now, if we went by the traditional route of floating an RFP, it wasn't going to happen. So completely out of the box, I reached out to about 20, 25 CEOs and completely cold called. CEOs from consulting firms, the McKinseys of the world, Accenture, PwC, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, and I told them that, do you remember where you were on 26/11? Do you all remember where you were on 26/11? You remember the first instance when you saw it on TV, the first person you SMSed, the first person you SMSed you. And you were watching these 10 men come into your country and rape your country live. You were watching that. And then suddenly after 14 hours, you saw the black cats come. And when these black cats started coming into your TV screen, that's the time the hair on your hands rose and you said that, Ab hamari bari. Now we are going to show you what we are made of. I told those CEOs that here's an opportunity for you to get out of your armchairs and help us build the infrastructure which will prevent this from happening. And I can assure you, without exception, all the CEOs sent some of their best, and I told them, I'm not going to interview these people, I'm going to trust your judgment, I'm going to trust that you will send your best people. And all of them sent a couple of people, 2 people, 3 people, McKinsey sent 4 people. All of these organizations sent their best stars, and they gave them to us pro bono, and said, just take these people from our side, and this is our contribution to nation building. We began that project, and when we began that project, we knew that we had to telescope it. We couldn't do in the normal DPR structure, which takes about 8-9 months to build. And so we walked up to the board and we wrote 100 days there. And in this DPR team, there were some people who were experts in building DPR. There were some people from Deloitte. There was a guy from Deloitte who has built about 15, 20 DPRs. And he kind of looked at everyone in a wide-eyed amazement, because the shortest DPR takes anywhere between about 9 to 10 months to make. And he actually did a sign like this from the back, indicating to me that this guy is office rocker. And that's when I took them. So we were trying to find a way to motivate them. And I had a HR, anyone from HR here? No? So, you're shy of raising your hand? Okay. So we had an HR person who said, you need to get this team building exercise. You need to get them all in, sort of fired up, and let's take them out to Goa or one of these places and do these, falling back on each other kind of exercises to, sort of forge them into a team. Instead of that, I actually took them to the NSG headquarters. And the NSG gave a demonstration of what they could do there. And then they met the commanding officer who ran the 2611 operations. And many of you may not know the context of that operation. You saw it on TV and all of that. But it was one of the most textbook, more than 29 countries have come to India and studied how these boys did it, because in 72 hours, they opened 1,000 rooms. And this room opening drill, again, just to put it in context, there are two kinds of room opening drills. One is a room opening drill that you do in hostile territories. It's called hostile room opening, and you must have seen this in the movies. The team lines up next to the door. They place an explosive charge. The charge goes off. They toss a grenade inside. The grenade goes off. They put in the MP5 and lose a magazine, and then they storm into the room. You can't do that in Taj, Shabad, and Oberoi, because there you have to attempt what is called a benign room entry. And that's because inside every room, you can have a terrorist. Inside every room, you can have a tourist. And inside every room, you can have a terrorist with a tourist. All three possibilities exist. So each room has to be opened with the same degree of caution, alertness, carefulness as the room before that, and the room before that, and the room before that, 1,000 times. And this officer also told this team that after the NSG took over, there was not a single collateral casualty. The only two people who died were the commandos, but not a single civilian was killed after the NSG took charge. And he told this team, that we didn't have the floor plans. We had no idea what the hotel layout looked like. We didn't know whether these AC ductings can take the weight of a man inside. We had no idea whether these walls they can stop a bullet or they're bulletproof. We knew none of that. And all these plans were lying 100 meters away in the Brihan Mumbai office, but we didn't have access to it. So we went into this battle with our blindfolds around our eyes, our hands tied behind our back. All I am asking you on behalf of the National Security Guard, if you are half as good as what Raghu tells me you are, then next time we have to go into battle, please don't make us fight at a disadvantage. When we came back from the NSG headquarters in Manesar, the whole bus was quiet. These 35 people were completely quiet and somber. But I can tell you, I have never seen more passion in a group of disparate people who were at each other's neck, because suddenly there was a purpose which was far larger than their very petty bickering about whose format to use and what kind of font to use. They suddenly found that there was a challenge which was far larger, and we actually managed to build the DPR in 110 days.